Welcome to another iteration of the UMAC Lessons from Leaders series. Today we are here with Todd Bouchie. Todd is the College of St. Scholastica head coach for both the women and men indoor and outdoor track and field teams. And we're excited to spend some time with Todd today. Todd joined the St. Scholastica track and field program as an assistant back in 2005. And then moved into the head coaching position in 2016. Since Todd took over as the head coach, he's helped guide the Saints to 3 indoor UMAC championships and 2 outdoor UMAC championships, and also has had a lot of success with individuals as well, helping 10 student athletes appear 29 times in Division III national championship opportunities. So I think that clearly speaks to the success that Todd has had leading the St. Scholastica track and field program. Todd, let's start there. One of the unique aspects of coaching track and field is there's an individual element, but there's also that team element. Speak to how you've had success navigating both the individual and the team element in track and field.
The biggest thing I've had to keep in mind since I wasn't an athlete any longer, so a long time ago, over 20 years ago, is to be patient. And I had to learn that right away, because you can't assume that everybody can do, when you're coming off being an athlete, can do everything you were able to do. You also can't assume that they have the same dedication level. It's at the same priority level as it is for you. And us as coaches, obviously it's really high priority. Should be that high for everyone. So you don't make that assumption. So be patient, be honest with people, whether it's in recruitment of athletes, if you're dealing with your assistant coaches, with current athletes, be honest with them. I try to tell them why I make the decisions I make. It's not a secret. If they ask me, I'll tell them, if I haven't already. Because if they know the reasons why we do things, they tend to be more accepting of them. They don't question stuff because they already know why we're doing it. I don't have to, react to their what's going on. So be honest, be patient. I'm putting my 2 words together there. And the other part is take the time to build relationships with people. 2 of my current assistant coaches were people that I coached. And they wouldn't be back here if I hadn't taken the time to build up that relationship with them and teach them along the way. And one of my other assistant coaches is someone who was just looking for a volunteer opportunity a few years ago, and I was receptive to that. I mean, it didn't cost me anything, but I had to fill out a form, and then actually take the time to get to know him and stay in contact with him, because he seemed pretty enthusiastic about being a coach and about learning. And then he ended up wanting to come back because he's from the Duluth area, and now he's on our staff. Sure. So just things like that. Be honest, be patient, build some relationships with people, and over time, good things will happen. Sure.
Yeah. And Todd, help us learn, for all of us in life, there's probably those aha moments where, lessons learned and things hit home. As you've gone from an assistant coach to the head coach and acted in different capacities, what's 1 or 2, moments, memories as you look back that really helped you cement in terms of the understanding what your job is and having that success in the coaching profession?
Well, one thing early on, it was when I was helping my college team. I went to University of Minnesota Duluth, and I helped for a year after I got done competing. And my head coach, he was also my throwing coach at the time, Bill Hudspeth, he kind of let me just coach the throwers myself. He kind of guided me, but was pretty hands-off with it. And that's for multiple reasons. He was a part-time employee. He was the head coach. He had other stuff to do. So for him, it was a good situation. Sure. He had someone that he could rely on to do it for him. Well, I'd complain about the athletes not wanting to do all the workouts and stuff that I set up for them, and being lackadaisical about the warm-up and whatever. And he just had to point out to me, well, they're not you. And that's where you start to learn early on that, okay, fair enough, they're not me. Yeah. And he's like, well, they don't look at it the same way you do. This is just something they do. There's a reason you're coaching now, because you care about it, you like it. And to them, it's just a kind of a fun side activity that they do, and you have to understand that. And kind of meeting them at that level and coaching them from there. And the other point he made was, well, are they good? Are they improving? Well, yeah. Then relax, you know?
Yep.
So that was a big lesson. And what it taught me is, even from those athletes, there's always something to be learned, and you have to continue to do that. I learned just as much from the athletes, in some cases maybe more, than they're picking up from me. And maybe that's not accurate, but that's how I feel sometimes.
Sure.
So that was a big moment early on, and I'm glad that it happened, because it helped me, because I went right into coaching high school, and that's an even lower level of commitment and athletic ability, and it allowed me to have some success and learn to be patient with those athletes.
Sure, sure. One of the things that often comes up with success in any organization, team, program is values. And so speak to values in terms of maybe what you feel you've established with the St. Scholastica track and field programs, the values that your program holds to, or maybe the values that you look for in your student athletes when you're recruiting a prospective student athlete. Speak on some of those values for a little bit.
I value, above everything else with my assistant coaches, with my team, is the desire to get better. Now, I don't cut anybody currently. As rosters grow, which it has grown every year, but as that changes, we might have to look at having a travel roster or cutting people or something like that, but I don't really want to if I don't have to. So that means I've got people who are kind of down here ability-wise, and I've got people who are up here. Well, this person can't do what this person is doing. But is that person doing what I ask them to do? And are they going from that level to that level? And if they are, great, they're a great team member. And they might even be able to set a good example for one of these really talented people who aren't necessarily doing everything they could be doing to better themselves. So that's really important, trying to better yourself.
Sure.
And then some of the things I already mentioned. Be patient. I've got young assistant coaches, and they have to learn what I learned a long time ago. Well, you guys are doing this because it's important to you. And we'd like to think, because we're not forcing anybody to do this, that it must be important to everybody. And to a certain level it is, but not necessarily to the same level that it's important to us. It's not at the same priority level.
Sure.
So be patient with them. And the athletes need to be patient with us as we learn, you know, their personalities and how to coach them. And they have to be patient with themselves. You're not going to go, if I get a woman in here who's a 35-foot shot putter, she's not going to shot put 45 feet or 46 feet and be an All-American tomorrow. Yeah. In 3 years maybe. Yeah. So be patient. Go through the process. Be focused while you're doing it, but be patient. And you know, just being honesty, I already mentioned, that's important. I want the athletes to be honest with us. It's a huge key. And be reliable. Show up when you're supposed to show up. Communicate with us, which is another, I guess you could call it a separate value, but when you can't be there, and just do the things you're supposed to be doing. Sure. And let us know when you can't do those things.
Yeah. You've talked about your assistants, referenced them a few times, and your coaching staff, certainly a key to your success. How do you assess or kind of self-evaluate, if you will, how your program is doing? Again, going back to track and field, there's that interesting individual and team element. How do you kind of gauge how your program is doing, how you're doing as a coaching staff?
Ours is, in one big way, it's really simple. We have raw numbers that they don't have. And I know, you know, statistics are becoming a big, you know, data analysis. It's all becoming a much bigger part of other sports, but ours is really simple. Did you run faster times? Did you throw farther? Did you jump higher? Did you jump farther? If they're doing those things better at the end of the year when they were at the beginning, then we must have done at least some stuff okay. If they got a lot better, then we probably did pretty well. If the majority of our athletes are getting better, then we can say, all right, generally speaking, we're doing the right stuff. Can we tweak things? Yeah. Could it be better? Yeah, but we're generally speaking, we're doing all right. If we find people who aren't improving, then you have to try to pinpoint the reasons, and you can't just go to, and I've heard this too much in the past, well, they lack confidence. Okay, why? What did you do to build their confidence?
Sure.
They're not dedicated. Okay, maybe that's true, but why? Yeah. Have you helped them see that they're talented and that they can do great things here, and try to increase their dedication level?
Sure.
And then the last thing is there a pattern? When I watch my throwers, for instance, years ago, I had three throwers who went to nationals, and they were in the hammer throw, and they all had the same flaw. Well, it wasn't random. They didn't all randomly come up with the same flaw. There was one common element there, and it was me. So I had to change the way, and I had 3 people at nationals. And so obviously you could say you're pretty successful, I don't need to change anything.
Yeah.
Well, but you have to identify that there's a flaw there, and there's only one common element, so I need to change the way I'm teaching this to them. And 2 of the people graduated, but one of the people, I had to kind of start over with her as a junior. But then she ended up winning, 2 All-American awards in hammer throw. So,
okay.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah.
The other part is listening to feedback and taking it seriously. I think everybody says they listen to feedback, but don't blow people off. It doesn't matter if it's that athlete who's not very good as far as their performance, or it's an All-American. If they have some feedback for you, you got to listen to it. Sometimes it's just whining and complaining. This workout's hard. Yeah, we want you to get better. Of course the workout's hard.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's legitimate, and you have to take it into consideration.
Sure. I think a Division III coach, the expectations, how that looks, continues to change and evolve quickly. And tell us what you see in the future in terms of a Division III coach to be successful. Oftentimes, a leader knows the obstacles or challenges that are coming before the other people that are with him or her do. So speak to what you see for a Division III coach in the future, what that will entail.
Well, many schools like us, I wouldn't say we're struggling overall, but trying to get our freshman and transfer class in here every year it's every year we have to work at it. Yeah. And I think what we have to do as coaches is make sure that don't get too caught up in what's happening with the rest of campus in terms of, do you feel like you're getting every material thing that you might need or want, because you're not going to get everything. Is the admissions department giving you every single thing that you could hope to get in terms of recruiting students? Some of that stuff's going to be less than ideal.
Sure.
If it is all ideal, great. You have no reason to not be national champions.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be. So do what you can to show that those high school kids that you care about them and that you're going to give them a great experience.
Sure.
Now, if they don't like the school at all, they're not coming here anyway. I hope.
Yeah.
Because we can only do so much to give them a good experience if they hate
Yep.
the school.
Yep.
But by and large, people like our school when they visit. It may not be their top choice, but they like it. So you have to do a good job listening to them and trying to let them know what you're going to do for them. And part of that is when you get athletes, don't always force them to fit into the way you've always done it. We have to be more adaptable.
Sure.
You have to listen to what they want, what they need. And there's one head coach, and right now I've got over 60 people on my roster, and hopefully in the next couple of years we'll have 70 or 80 or whatever.
Yep.
Well, if the majority of those 60 plus people have the same complaint, well, who's right? The one person or the 50 people?
Yeah.
And we get too stuck sometimes in thinking that this is the right way to do it. This is the way that this is my system, this is how I do it, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but maybe there's a better way to do it, and you have to be open to listen to that. And that doesn't matter if it's communication styles. 90+% of my communication with recruits is text messaging.
Sure.
They'd probably even prefer if I Snapchatted them or something like that,
Yeah.
but I'm not quite ready to go that far yet. So just being flexible and adaptable and listening to people and continuing to learn from everyone that you meet is the big key. And if you're willing to do that, I think any sport, any program, you'll be okay. If you get stuck and you don't want to adapt, you might struggle.
Sure. Wise words from the College of St. Scholastica head women's and men's track and field coach Todd Bouchie. Todd, thank you for joining us today. The Saints will look to continue adding to their impressive program history, adding more championships this winter and spring in the upcoming UMAC indoor and outdoor track and field championships.